holding a weapon.
And before we get into that, were you working alone or with a partner?
I was riding with a partner.
Who was that partner?
Officer Miles.
Can I have the full name, please?
Ruby Ann Miles.
Ruby Ann Miles. And were you in full uniform or partial?
We were in full uniform.
Were you in a marked vehicle or unmarked?
Fully marked.
Fully marked. And what does that entail?
It has the vehicle number, Taylor Police Department along the side, lights and sirens.
And those lights and sirens work?
Yes.
Okay. And once you were dispatched to that location, did you make contact with anyone?
We did.
Who?
We made contact with the caller and her son.
Okay. And what, if anything, did you do based on that contact?
So while we were inside the residence speaking with them, they advised us that...
Objection. Hearsay.
Judge, this is going to affect on listener and how his investigation led. It's not being offered for the truth of the matter asserted.
Go ahead.
So while we were speaking with the victim and her son, they advised us that a vehicle involved had just drove past the house.
Okay. Did you ever get a description of this vehicle?
We did.
What kind of vehicle was it?
Per dispatch and the victim's son, they stated that it was a red Ford.
Objection, Your Honor. I would against it. This is hearsay because this is not just being offered as the effect on the listener, but what type of vehicle was being observed, and obviously the vehicle that they were then going to pursue against. So somewhat goes to identity.
It's not being offered for identity in that sense or the truth of the matter asserted. It's going to show how this officer continued his investigation. What happened? He's arriving at a scene for a emergency
and he's
call.
given some information, and how does he follow up on the
Exactly.
information? That's the only reason I'm considering it.
Okay.
I'll limit my consideration to the effect on the mind of
Thank
the
you.
listener.
Continue, please.
So as we were speaking with the victim and her son, the son advised officers on scene that a red Ford Flex had just drove past the residence northbound.
Okay. And did you have reason to believe at that point that was the person that they were calling in regards to?
We did.
Okay, what did you do based on that?
With the information provided by dispatch and the victim's son advising us, I had looked out the front of the house and I observed a Ford Flex driving northbound on Lincoln.
What did you do based on that?
My partner and I patrolled miles, returned our patrol vehicle. She was driving, I was in the passenger seat, and immediately once we got into the vehicle, she activated her emergency lights and sirens.
Okay. And were you able to follow this vehicle?
We were.
Were you able to get a license plate number?
We did.
Okay. And do you recall what that license plate is?
I do. If I could refer back to my report.
Would that refresh your recollection?
It would.
Go ahead. And then once your recollection has been refreshed, just look up at me. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, pause right there. This is a big procedural moment. The prosecutor's already hinting at upgrading the charge before any evidence has even been presented. That's a tactical move. She's signaling confidence in her case. But it also puts the defense on alert. They're walking into a preliminary hearing that could turn into something bigger, fast. What would you do if your charges might suddenly get bumped up mid-hearing? Drop a comment. Would you fight it or push the delay?
We were southbound on McKinley, and I had given the plate number out to dispatch. The plate was EWZ 6945.
Okay. And did you get any return on that?
We did.
What was it?
It came back registered to a female. I don't remember out of what city or the female.
Okay. And at this point, were you still pursuing this red Ford Flex?
We were.
And where were you pursuing it now?
We were southbound on McKinley, approaching Champaign.
And is that a residential area or a freeway?
Residential.
What's his posted speed limit?
25.
And how far was this red Ford Flex driving? Do you recall
How far or
Excuse me,
fast?
how fast?
How fast? It was within the posted speed limit
Okay.
at this time.
And what happened next?
The vehicle continued southbound until it approached Champaign. Made a right-hand turn westbound onto Champaign, where it exceeded the posted speed limit of 25 miles an hour.
Okay. And how fast was it going at this point?
I would have to estimate approximately 40 miles an hour.
About 40 miles in a 25 mile per hour zone.
Correct.
Okay, then what happened?
The vehicle approached Part E, to where it made a right-hand turn northbound on the Part E, rapidly accelerating to approximately 70 miles an hour.
Okay, and what's the posted speed limit in that area?
40.
40? Okay. And what happened next?
The vehicle continued northbound on Party. Again, we were probably, I would say, approximately 200 yards behind the vehicle at this time, to where I observed the vehicle make a left-hand turn westbound on the E-course. My partner did not see that. We continued northbound on Party.
Okay. And this happened around 11:03 p.m. approximately, correct?
Correct.
How far away were you from the vehicle, the red Ford Flex?
I would probably say approximately 3 football fields, maybe 4 away.
Okay. Were there any vehicles in between the two of you?
I don't recall.
Okay. And at around 11:03 p.m., is it fair to say it was dark out there? It was dark outside?
Dark lighted from the traffic
Okay.
lights.
At any point, did you get close enough to this vehicle?
We did, in the residential area.
Okay. And were there any cars in between you at that point?
No.
And were your emergency lights and sirens still on?
Yes.
Okay. Were you ever able to stop this vehicle?
No.
At any point, did it stop when you were pursuing it?
No.
What happened next?
So we continued northbound on Party. The vehicle turned westbound on the E-course. My Sergeant Rissman, advised that he was now primary lead unit in pursuing the vehicle.
At that point, did you terminate your pursuit?
We attempted to turn around and catch up, but the vehicle had already got on westbound I-94, and we were too far out of it.
And did you terminate at that point?
Yes.
Okay. And who continued the pursuit once you terminated?
Sergeant Rissman.
Okay. No further questions.
Can you say that? How's that last name spelled? Rissman?
Yes, ma'am.
R-I-S-S-M-A-N, do you know? Okay.
And Your Honor, he is the next witness.
Oh, okay.
We'll make sure we have spells on the record.
Cross?
Yes, Judge. You indicated that it was pretty dark outside, is that correct?
That's correct.
And the vehicle never came to a stop as you were pursuing it?
That's correct.
So you never made contact with the individual in the vehicle?
Correct.
And when the vehicle, so you never made contact, so you're unaware as to how many people were inside that vehicle, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And at the time that you indicated you terminated your pursuit, well, I guess let me rephrase. When you terminated your pursuit, your partner turned off the lights and sirens?
Once Sergeant Rissman advised that he was no longer pursuing, we turned off our lights and sirens.
Okay, and then you did not continue driving in that direction?
Correct. I don't believe we made it on to 94.
Okay, so at some point you lost sight of the vehicle
Correct.
and you never regained sight of that vehicle?
That's correct.
Understood. No further questions?
Nothing further for this one, Your Honor.
All right.
Thank you, Corporal, you're excused.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We'll call their next witness, Officer or Sergeant Rissman.
The witness letting him know to come in?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, sir, can you come on up to the witness stand? You raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Right. Thank you. Sir, can you tell us your first and last name and then spell your last name?
Brian Rissman, Rissman.
Thank you. Your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. How are you currently employed?
I'm currently a sergeant for the Taylor Police Department.
And Sergeant Rissman, were you working in the capacity on the date of January 6, 2025 at the location 8052 Lincoln
Yes,
in
I
the
was.
city of Taylor County, Hawaii?
Yes, I was.
And were you in full uniform or partial uniform?
Full uniform.
Were you in a marked vehicle or unmarked?
Marked.
And could you describe what your marked vehicle looks like?
Yeah, it's a black Chevrolet Tahoe with police markings on the side and a light bar on the top and lights in the grill and windshield.
Okay, and do your emergency lights and sirens work on that vehicle?
Yes, they do.
And what, if anything, took you to that location that day?
There was a call for a male threatening a female with a gun. I was kind of delayed getting there. There was Corporal LeBeau was already on scene talking to the caller. And then he advised over the radio that the defendant vehicle had just driven past him northbound.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Goes to effect on listener and what he did.
Just going to
based on
find out what he did next. Overall.
So based on that, did you get a description of the suspect vehicle?
Yes, it was like a red or maroon Ford Flex.
Okay, and at any point, did you make contact with this vehicle?
Yes.
Where?
As soon as Corporal LeFew called out on the radio that it was driving northbound on Lincoln, I turned onto eastbound Hayes from Pardee. I was coming down Hayes, and I saw a vehicle matching that description turning eastbound onto Hayes, and I saw Corporal LeFew and Patrolwoman Miles, now Scott, sorry, following right behind it, and they activated their lights. I could see that the vehicle was not stopping for that.
Okay. At any point, did you join them in this pursuit?
Yes.
When?
Pretty quickly after it turned onto eastbound Hayes from Lincoln, I was behind the other officers there.
Okay. At some point, did they terminate their pursuit?
So I followed them and the vehicle eastbound on Hayes, southbound on McKinley, westbound on Champaign, and then northbound on Pardee. And I observed the suspect vehicle turn onto westbound E-course, and that's where Corporal LeFew and Miles went straight northbound on Pardee, and I became primary onto westbound E-course from Pardee.
Okay. While you were with them in pursuit, were your emergency lights and sirens on?
Yes, they were.
So they were on even before they terminated their pursuit.
Correct.
So you mentioned a few streets. Can you state them one more time?
Sure. I picked up, I saw the vehicle turn onto eastbound Hayes.
Okay, and is
And there it is, the bind over, the judge's reasoning, pure probable cause logic, low bar, wide net. She's not saying Whitfield did it, just that there's enough to move forward. Think of it like a movie trailer, not the whole film, just enough to convince you to buy a ticket. But did you catch how she emphasized the officer's ID of Whitfield after the second chase? That single link sealed the deal. Question for the comments. Do you think that's enough evidence to justify a full trial? Or is this a case of close enough for court?
that residential or
That is
freeway?
residential.
What's the posted speed limit there?
25.
25. How fast was the suspect vehicle going?
At that time, I would say probably between 25 and 35.
Okay, and where next?
Eastbound Hayes to southbound McKinley,
And what's the speed limit there?
it's all 25 right there.
Also 25. And how fast was the suspect vehicle going at this point?
About the same.
Okay.
And then it turned on to westbound Champaign,
Okay.
which is also 25.
25 speed limit, and how fast was the cars going at this
About
point?
the same, about the same limit, maybe a
Okay.
little lower.
Okay. And to your recollection, was there any point where the suspect vehicle accelerated beyond the posted speed limit?
Not there, but yes.
Where?
On northbound Pardee,
Okay.
it was probably going a little over the posted speed limit, but it really exceeded the posted speed limit when it got onto westbound E-course.
What's the speed limit on Pardee?
35.
35, and how fast was the suspect vehicle going at this
I
point?
don't recall exactly.
Okay. But was it going more than the speed limit to your observation?
I don't recall exactly.
Okay. And what happened once Officer, or I should say Corporal LeFew and Officer Miles terminated?
So I continued to pursue the vehicle onto
Okay.
westbound E-course, where it accelerated probably in speeds of excess of 70 miles per hour in a posted 40 zone.
Okay.
Then it turned northbound Telegraph, where it again exceeded probably 70 miles an hour in a 45 zone.
Okay.
It then proceeded onto westbound 94 from Telegraph, where it accelerated to speeds in excess of 110 in a 70.
And at this point, were your siren lights, emergency lights, sirens still on?
Yes, they were.
And were you following him once he got into I-94?
Yes.
How many cars were between you and this red car?
I was having trouble keeping up because it was, going so fast. So I was probably 100, 200 yards back. And then around about westbound 94 E-course is when the suspect vehicle extinguished all of its lights.
Okay. And before we get to that, were there any point while you were pursuing this red Ford Flex where there was no cars in between at all?
No cars in between now.
Between you and the red Ford Flex?
Yeah.
And how many feet or yards would you say were between you and this red Ford Flex?
Probably about 100 to 200.
Okay. And at any point did this vehicle stop?
No.
Okay. Then what happened?
Like I said, at about westbound 94 in E-course, the suspect vehicle extinguished its lights, so it made it difficult for me to see it. I could still make it out for another about a half mile as it proceeded to travel at speeds in excess of 110, 120 miles an hour. And at that point, we were pretty much at westbound 94 in Inkster, which is the border of our city, and I couldn't see it any longer, so I terminated the pursuit.
Okay, and when this car extinguished its lights, was it still dark outside?
Yes.
Okay, and what time did you terminate your pursuit? If you recall?
According to my dash cam video, it's approximately 11:26 p.m.
Okay, and what did you do next?
After I terminated the pursuit, I turned off my emergency equipment, my lights and sirens, and I found the nearest turnaround and returned to the city.
Okay, at any point, did you put out a dispatch for this vehicle?
I'm not sure. That would have been handled with our dispatch center, but I believe they did.
Okay, and was it for where this car was last seen? Did you notify anyone where you terminated your pursuit?
Yes, I notified my lieutenant who was inside the station and dispatch.
Okay. And where did you notify them that you terminated the pursuit exactly?
Westbound 94, just east of Inkster.
Okay, no further questions.
Officer, you indicated that you arrived to the responding, I guess you responded later than others to this incident.
Yes,
Did you go to the house where this initial call came from?
not prior to the pursuit, no.
Okay, and so then prior to the pursuit, you were unaware as to the individual inside the vehicle?
Correct,
And so you weren't aware as to how many individuals were inside that vehicle?
that is correct.
As to whether it was male or female?
That is correct.
Okay. You indicated that on direct examination that the car never came to a stop, is that correct?
While I was primary, no.
Okay, and so you never made contact with the individual or individuals inside the vehicle?
No.
Additionally, you indicated that when you became primary, the lights and sirens of the other scout car following the vehicle were still on, was that correct?
I don't recall, because they continued northbound and I went westbound on E-course, and I didn't see them. But they were on at the time, yes.
They were on at the time. Okay, so you were informed as to the pursuit being terminated prior to you becoming primary?
No, they didn't terminate. They just made a wrong turn, basically.
Understood.
Yes.
Okay, so you just continued pursuit.
Yes.
Understood. And then at the time that the vehicle was on I-94, it pursued at a high rate of speed, is that correct?
Yes.
And so at some point you lost sight of that vehicle
Yes.
and then terminated your pursuit?
That is correct.
And you never regained visual of that vehicle, did you?
No.
No further questions.
Nothing further for this witness.
All right, thank you, Sergeant, you're excused.
Thank you.
We will call their third and final witness, Deputy Andrew Singer, to the stand.
Who is it? I'm sorry.
Andrew Singer, can you just call him? We have a out county guest today, he's from Washington County.
Okay. Hey, officer, can you come on up to the witness stand? And stand and face me. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I did.
Great. Can you have a seat, officer, and tell me your first and last name?
First name Andrew, last name Singer.
Normal spelling, S-I-N-G-E-R?
Correct.
All right, your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Could you please state your occupation and rank?
Deputy Singer for the Washington County Sheriff's Office.
And Deputy Singer, were you working in the capacity on the date of January 6th, 2025?
I was.
And were you working dispatch or patrol?
Patrol.
At any point, did your duties take you to the location at or near La Forge and Villa Drive in Ypsilanti, City of Ypsilanti, County of Washington?
Yes.
And what, if anything, brings you to court?
What brings you to court?
Yeah, what happened the day that brings you here?
So on that day, on January 6th, from, let's say 11:35 p.m., we were given information about a suspected vehicle that fled from Taylor.
At any point, did you get a description of this vehicle?
Yes, I did.
What was it?
It was a red Ford Flex.
And did you get a license plate number for that vehicle?
I did.
What was it?
It was EWZ 6945.
Okay, then what happened?
So we were given information of possible areas where the suspect vehicle could possibly go. So myself and other deputies, we went to these different areas, patrolled the area.
At any point, did you locate a vehicle matching that description, a red Ford Flex?
I did.
Where?
At the intersection of Clark Road and Prospect Road.
Okay, and at what point did you see this vehicle?
At this point, I was sitting across from a gas station at the intersection. I observed a red Flex pass in front of me,
Okay.
fitting the description of the suspect.
What did you do based on that observation?
Based on that observation, I pulled out of where I was parked at, got behind the vehicle, and observed the license plate, as I stated before.
It was an exact match for that license plate from dispatch,
That's correct.
and that would be EWZ 6945.
Yes.
Okay, what did you do next?
So, being able to see that plate, stuff and verifying that was a suspect plate and everything, I proceeded to follow the car down on Clark Road, and he turned off on a different side road.
And there it is, the bind over, the judge's reasoning, pure probable cause logic, low bar, wide net. She's not saying Whitfield did it, just that there's enough to move forward. Think of it like a movie trailer, not the whole film, just enough to convince you to buy a ticket. But did you catch how she emphasized the officer's ID of Whitfield after the second chase? That single link sealed the deal. Question for the comments. Do you think that's enough evidence to justify a full trial? Or is this a case of close enough for court?
Off of Clark Road. So at that point, I activated my emergency lights.
So before we get into that, let me ask you, were you in a fully marked or unmarked vehicle?
Fully marked.
Were you in full uniform or partial uniform?
Full uniform.
And what does your full uniform look like in Washtenaw County?
As to, I don't know if you can see about as what I'm wearing today.
So same thing,
Yes.
it would have the vest,
Yes.
that says sheriff on it. It would have the badge on your chest,
Correct.
okay? And what does your patrol vehicle look like, when it's fully marked?
Fully marked, it has Washington County Sheriff's Office on the side, has it on the back side of it, overhead light bar.
Okay, and do your lights and siren work?
Yes.
So once you made contact with the suspect vehicle that matches the description, what did you do?
I activated my emergency lights, conducted a traffic stop on the vehicle. Once the vehicle stopped, I ordered for the suspect inside the vehicle to stop the car and park the car. The suspect vehicle, the occupant inside the suspect vehicle refused.
Okay, so let me stop you there. At some point, this car heeds to the siren lights and the siren and the lights and stops.
Yes.
At that point, do you get out of your car?
I step out of my patrol vehicle, I give him verbal commands for him to stop the car and for him to show me his hands.
Okay, and,
He failed to do so.
all right, and at any point, did you see the individual in the vehicle?
I did.
And to your recollection, is it someone, that person, were they the sole occupant in the vehicle?
Yes,
Or were they also the driver?
yes.
Okay, then what happened?
So after, like I said before, giving verbal commands and everything, after like my last one I gave, the foot was lifted off the brake and the car fled from me.
Okay, then what happened?
Small pursuit proceeded, through the township a little bit, then he drove off on LaForge Road into an apartment complex, parked the car, and he failed.
So what happens once he fled, this person leaves the car and leaves on foot?
Right.
Do you see them?
Yes, I do see him.
At any point, do you apprehend this person?
I do.
Do you get a full look at their face?
I do.
And is it the same person that you saw before, after the traffic stop?
Yes, it's
Before
the
they
same
fled?
person.
Okay, and if you were to see this person here today, would you recognize them?
I will.
And as you take a look around the courtroom, if you see that person here today, point them out and identify an article of their clothing.
Male up here sitting in the front table wearing a blue sweatshirt.
Okay, let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant, Roman Whitfield.
The record shall so reflect.
Okay, and what did you do after Mr. Whitfield was taken into custody?
After he was taken into custody, he was searched, then he was placed into one of our patrol vehicles.
Okay, at any point was he turned over to Taylor PD?
He was.
Okay, no further questions.
Ross,
Yes, Judge. Officer, you indicated that you received information regarding this suspect vehicle fleeing from Taylor around 11:36, is that what you said?
11:35.
11:35, okay, and you, along with multiple other individuals in your department, canvassed the area to try to find that vehicle, correct?
That's correct.
And at first you guys were unsuccessful.
That's correct.
How long was the time that you, from the time that you first were informed of the suspect vehicle to the time that you made contact with the suspect vehicle or observed the suspect vehicle in that gas station?
I would say it was probably approximately maybe 10 minutes.
10 minutes, okay. So roughly the first time that you observed the vehicle was around 11:45 or so.
That's correct.
Okay. And you indicated that when you observed this vehicle, you pulled behind it as it was traveling on the road, is that correct?
That's correct.
And eventually you initiated your lights and sirens,
Yes,
and the individual did pull over.
he did pull over.
Okay, and you also indicated that there was no one inside the vehicle other than the occupant driving, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, but you didn't see anything that happened prior to him being at the gas station, is that correct?
I did not see anything prior.
Okay. Additionally, you indicated that did the individual get out of the vehicle at first?
When I initiated the stop?
Yes.
No.
No. You just made commands to the individual?
Yes.
Were the windows up or down?
Window was down.
Windows down, okay. And then the vehicle took off?
That's correct.
And eventually you were able to apprehend the individual?
Yes.
Okay, understood. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
Briefly, Your Honor. You indicated that you saw him near Clark and Prospect, correct?
That's correct.
Can someone get to that location, based on your knowledge as an officer in that area, can a person get to Clark and Prospect off I-94?
Yes.
No further questions?
Can this witness be excused?
Yes.
I just have one question.
Okay.
Judge. I'm sorry. Did you prepare a report for this case?
I did prepare a report.
Did you provide that to your supervisor?
I did.
Okay. And were you wearing body cam footage on this day?
Yes, I was.
And that also was turned over to your supervisor?
That's correct.
Understood. Thank you.
Right, nothing further?
Nothing from Mr. Lear.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You're all set, sir.
The people rest.
Okay, any witnesses on behalf of defense?
No, Judge. No witnesses for the defense. We rest as well.
All right,
Okay, Your Honor, at this time, the people ask for bind over as charged with some minor tweaks. First, we'd like to amend count 1 from a fleeing and eluding 4 for Corporal Adam Whitfield, amend it to a fleeing and eluding 3rd based on his testimony. The defendant was driving in a 25-mile zone at one point and then in a 35-mile zone, and that is sufficient with the fleeing and eluding 3rd. And he was also with his partner, Officer Miles, so the next count would be an addition of fleeing and eluding 3rd for the same reasons. And then 3rd, I would also move to add count 3 for Sergeant Brian Rissman and fleeing and eluding 3rd based on his testimony of the extinguished lights, which pursuant to the statute for fleeing and eluding 3rd, subsection B, select one or more of the following that apply to a fleeing and eluding 3rd would be extinguishing the lights of the motor vehicle. And Your Honor, for a fleeing and eluding, the people have to show by a probable cause that the
what's the
defendant.
jury instruction? Do you have the number?
I do. Let me see.
For fleeing and eluding 3rd,
Yeah,
13.6C.
Did you pull it up?
yeah, give me 1 second.
Take your time.
Okay,
Okay.
I mean, as far as count 1 being amended to 3rd degree, I'll let you make your argument and then we'll get back. I mean, I have some questions. Are you asking me to add 3 counts of the same charge for 3 different officers?
Sergeant Rissman would be separate as well because he continued the pursuit on his own, and it's for what happened on the freeway.
Okay,
not
no,
prior to.
I'm not doing that. It's one chain of events. He has 1 count. There were multiple officers involved, but I'm not gonna add an offense for every officer when this was all a concerted effort. So I just wanna hear any argument you have on the 3rd degree.
Yes, Judge. So the testimony did reflect the 35 miles per hour. I'm not contesting that. However, what I am contesting is the ID here. So Your Honor, we object to the bind over for that reason. The people cannot establish by sufficient evidence that the driver of the vehicle was Mr. Whitfield. The officers never indicated or never interacted with the driver of the vehicle. They never observed the driver of the vehicle, nor did they ever confirm that the vehicle was being driven by Mr. Whitfield, how many occupants were in the vehicle, or even whether the driver was a male or female. So they cannot establish by sufficient evidence that the individual was in fact Mr. Whitfield in Taylor, Michigan at the time of the pursuit, which occurred at roughly, I believe the officer testified that the pursuit was terminated on I-94 around 11:20 something, I believe 26. Then we have an officer here testifying from Ypsilanti indicating that they did observe the suspect vehicle and made contact with the individual. However, that was roughly 20 minutes after the incident in Taylor. We have no idea what happened from the time that this pursuit was terminated in Taylor to the time that the officer made contact with this vehicle in Ypsilanti. Further, there was testimony that the individual or the vehicle was registered to a female. I'm not sitting next to a female here today, Judge. I do not think that there is sufficient evidence to establish that the vehicle being driven in Taylor was by Mr. Whitfield. There's testimony here that the driver of the vehicle was Mr. Whitfield in Washtenaw, but that was 20 minutes after the fact. There was officers that lost sight of this vehicle. They have no idea what happened prior to them observing this vehicle in the gas station. And so for that reason, Your Honor, I don't think that they can establish the second element of pleading and eluding third degree. The defendant was driving the vehicle at the time of this offense.
Okay, I heard all of the testimony. I don't need a response. I've heard all the testimony. This is a probable cause standard. The people have to show by the lowest standard in criminal law that a crime is committed and probable cause exists to charge that crime. There's testimony about the chase from Officer LePew, Officer Rissman, and Deputy Singer. The time frame makes sense. I mean, it's certainly an issue of fact for a trier of fact on identity that'll be handled at circuit court. But for today's purposes, given the time frame that all of these officers were involved in the chase, the fact that the plate matches, the vehicle ID matches, and you know, just as a side note, just the testimony of Officer Singer is enough to establish identity. I mean, because there's testimony that that the defendant fled from him. So, you know, even putting aside, you know, whether or not there's an identity issue with what occurred in Taylor, you know, the officer, Deputy Singer testified that the defendant fled from him and he ID'd him within minutes. So for purposes of this court, the standard's been met and the case will be bound over to Third Circuit Court for all future proceedings. The arraignment on the information is
March 19th.
March 19th at 9 a.m. And bond will continue. All right, we're all set. Thank you.